out of this pandemic? And Erin, you are in the top left, so I'm going to ask you to go first.
Okay, I'll jump in there. I'm going to say silver lining is on-demand support for my kids. My connection is DAC leadership, and I have 2 kiddos in the district, one at North Glen High School and one at STEM Launch, 5th grade.
Great. I'm Jack. I'm the DAC president. My connection to the district is changing. I guess I'm a community member now. My daughter graduated Legacy in May, and my son graduated 5 years ago from Legacy. So I have no kids in the district now. My silver lining is that I've always had a home gym 14 steps away from me, and I have used it way more, surprisingly, when I'm stuck at home. Lisa, you are next.
I'm Lisa Carroll, and I'm a 4th grade teacher at Northmore Elementary. And I have 2 kids at Horizon High School. They're loving it. And I think I know, thanks, Kim. I think that my silver lining was that I am not a tech savvy person, but when we've been remote, I've learned a lot, and most of it is from my kids. So that's been a good thing.
Kim.
I'm Kim Brady, principal at Horizon High School. I have a middle schooler at Century, and I think my silver lining in all of this is it's been challenging at high school to always get parents involved and engaged in activities and in different meetings. And with the convenience of meetings like this with Zoom, we found new levels of engagement. So that's exciting.
Great. Tracy?
Hi, I'm Tracy Dorland. I'm the Deputy Superintendent for Adams 12 5-star schools. And the silver lining for me is that I have 2 middle schoolers at home, and just getting to spend more time with them as they're on the brink of becoming adolescents and probably not wanting to spend a ton of time with me and my husband has been a real blessing. It's just given us some real good quality family time, and I've really enjoyed that.
Great. Laurie?
I'm Laurie Goldstein. I'm on the board. I'm a retired Adams 12 educator. I have a 5th grader at STEM Launch, and I have 2 girls who graduated from North Glen High School. One is now teaching at Thornton Middle.
Laura.
Hi, Laura Venturo. I have been a teacher in the district for 15 years, currently teach social studies at North Glen High School. And my silver lining is that I have enjoyed not having the runaround in terms of like leaving work and then having to get kids to activities and get myself to the gym and then fix dinner and all of that craziness. So most of that is happening in my same space. So I'm not sure that's necessarily better, but I don't miss the runaround. That's my silver lining.
Thank you. Jamie?
Hi, I'm Jamie Lockley. I sit on the Board of Education with Laurie. I have a 5th grader at STEM Lab and a 2nd grader at Malley Drive Elementary. And I would say my silver lining is I have been putting off a bathroom remodel that needed to be done because I have a 60-year-old home. And finally got that accomplished because I'm home every day to oversee the work and see that it's getting done.
Great. Derek.
Derek Taniguchi, parent to 2 kids within the district. Silver lining for me personally is a more balanced lifestyle, to get spend more time with the family, just, doing things I need to get done around the house. Kind of like I heard you say about remodeling. I did a lot of different stuff in the house. Professionally, I think it's nicer because we went fully remote. So it's a growth opportunity for me and the team to try to get through this together remotely, where we're so used to being in person.
Thank you. Tara?
Hi, everybody. My name is Tara Raju, and I also have two boys students in the district. Silver lining, my kids always had chores, generally speaking, but the silver lining was teaching them how to clean their bathroom, to be honest. I'll take it any day. So that's my silver lining.
That's a huge victory. Mackenzie, you're up next.
I'm still laughing from that last one. Hi, I'm Mackenzie Carignan. I have 3 kiddos in the district, 2 at Stargate and 1 at Legacy High School. It's been really interesting seeing the differences between the district school and the charter schools over the last several months. My silver lining is probably getting a little more involved with my kids' curriculum. I'm kind of a curriculum geek. My profession is in curriculum development and e-learning development. So I've been able to really see I get to dig into their curriculum and see what they're really learning on a daily basis. And that's been really fun for me. So I'm like totally a nerd about it. It's really fun.
Michelle.
Hi, Michelle Zelas-Hahn. I have 2 kiddos in the district as well. And silver lining, I didn't have to set an alarm. So we got more sleep than we've ever had before.
I like that. Erin, you're up.
Other Erin.
I know. I was like, I'm Erin Gee. I have 5 kids that have moved through the district, and I'm on number 5 at Legacy. Very exciting. I'm sorry. Oh, silver lining. Our family got a boat because of this. All 5 of my kids ended up coming home, and we didn't have anything to do other than ping pong, and I was getting slayed all the time. So I finally talked my husband into getting this small used boat, and we named her Corona, and she was awesome. So super fun.
That's fantastic. Stephanie? Still muted? I'm not hearing you.
Does that work now?
There we go.
There we go. It was still back at work. Stephanie Ajay, principal of Prairie Hills Elementary School, now formerly Skyview. And a silver lining has been enjoying the beauty of Colorado in my backyard with my kids.
Fantastic. It appears that Stephanie's the last. If anyone is missed because I'm not seeing you on the Hollywood stairs, please speak up.
Jack, I'm here. Josh Bastion.
Oh, Josh.
I'm a community member in the community. I've been involved with the district for lots of years, and my silver lining is I have saved basically 2 to 2.5 hours of commute every day going into work, and that means that I've had a lot more time to do reading and stuff with the district and, well, everything else, which makes me a lot more productive.
Great. I clicked to see non-video attendees. So Kaylin, you're up.
Hi, my name is Kaylin Navarez, and I have 3 kids in the district. A silver lining for me is also that I started working out, and it's a good break from having 3 kids in the house all day, every day.
Awesome. And then Jessica, I do think that you are last.
Hi, I'm Jessica Zivotofsky, and I'm a community member. I graduated from Legacy High School in 2013. And my silver lining is that my dog is now my coworker, and I love spending every minute with him.
Thank you. I'm just going to say it. I think a boat named Corona wins.
Don't forget Stephanie Ortiz. She's trying to hide.
Oh, I did. Oh, sorry, Stephanie. That wasn't intentional.
2 Aaron's, 2 Stephanie's.
Thanks, Lisa. Darn it. I'm Stephanie Ortiz. I'm a parent. I stopped saying just a parent. I've been doing that. I've got 3 kids, 2 at Prairie Hills, 1 at Rocky Top. Well, all 3 home right now. And silver lining is I have bought and played more card games than I know what to do with. So
That's fantastic. We became a game night family too until our daughter went off to school. That was a lot of fun. So thank you. We have a great attendance tonight. Thank you for taking an hour out of your evening. It's been a long time since we've gathered. So Aaron and I are grateful. You might notice that Maura Devine is not joining us tonight. She opted out of DAC this year because of the time commitment for homeschooling as well as with her business. She would like to re-engage in the future. She was, I believe, officially our secretary, but handled communications. So we have that position to fill, but that was a significant change over the summer. You may have heard that this meeting is being recorded and streamed live. We will forward the link to anyone who didn't attend. Well, we'll probably just send it to the whole group so you have it, but to those who didn't attend so they can see what we talked about and then engage for the year if they would like. So we're going to move on to the recap for the calendar year so far. And Aaron, please jump in and correct me or remind me if I miss anything. Several points prior to COVID back in March, which seems like an eternity ago, we being DAC leadership, received feedback in a couple different formats that the UIP subcommittee and the charter subcommittee were experiencing similar situations that the spending priority was experiencing. And in a nutshell, that was trying to find value to the board and to the district through our work and getting a sense that there was usefulness in that work, that it was being applied or considered. And then secondarily, there was a feeling that we had to become subject matter experts in our areas of work rather quickly. And there was kind of a recurring theme that it was either a lot of work and maybe more than we signed up for, or that we didn't feel qualified to be making decisions in our respective subcommittees based on the level of knowledge that we were given. And it wasn't for a lack of district staff providing seminars or teaching or documents and explaining them. At least in spending priorities, Susie and her team did a fabulous job for us. But the notion of having to be a subject matter expert floated to the top as well. We were working as a DAC toward developing a mission and values, which would bring some cohesiveness to our group, give us our own purpose within the statutory definition of the DAC, but provide us our own purpose. That seemed to be the theme. What is our purpose? We were working toward attending a leadership academy, which many of us came up through to recruit for future DAC members, and that was not able to occur because of the cancellation of those meetings through the pandemic. We were working on building an annual calendar so that we could align each of the subcommittees' work in a way that would allow full DAC meetings to cross-pollinate, if you will, so we could have people working in more than one area of interest and that we could communicate back what work we were doing because the 3 years prior, the consensus was that we were working in silos. We were busy, we would meet, we would break off, and the other 2 subcommittees really had no idea what the third one was doing. And so we wanted to build a schedule of work or a calendar that would provide for some more group meeting time and some overlap. And then much of that was put on hold, right? As soon as we stopped meeting in March, we kind of ran into a wall and that work was put on hold except for the feedback. So Maura, Aaron, and I met several times over the summer to sift through what we had for feedback. There was a survey that many of you responded to. There was the group conversation that came out of a SAC, School Accountability Committee meeting that was sort of the same concerns that members were having. And so we took that information and we saw the need for a different model of work for the DAC. I met with someone from Jeffco's DAC midsummer and found that we weren't alone in that mission or those concerns as DAC members. And so that added a little more, I guess, credibility to what we were experiencing. And so we built a draft and we built a second draft. And then we floated it by Laurie and Jamie in late July. We had a quick meeting. I believe Tracy attended that. And I'm going to share my screen again. And this is the draft that we came up with. This was discussed a couple weeks ago at the Board of Education meeting that everyone was invited to observe. I don't know, maybe a quick show of hands. Actually, Aaron, can you look at that? A quick show of hands if you observed that board meeting week and a half ago or so.
I've got 4. Yep. Got about 4, it looks like, across all virtual and actual hands raised.
Great. So this was discussed. It was the first time that the whole Board of Education had seen it, and there was discussion back and forth about what it might look like. And Jamie and Laurie, as the liaisons, ran points on this discussion. And what came out of that, we felt, was a general nod that we could move forward with this within the DAC and test it out on a project or two this school year. And the one that was floated by Laurie and Jamie was an outreach to the SACs around the district. I think it's 51 of them. And that we would apply this model. And so tonight, what I wanted to do is quickly walk through what it means for the DAC and how I think the experience for our members will improve. And hopefully you'll join us in proving that out this year. So I don't expect you to be able to read it the way that it is, so I'm going to in a little bit. The first point I want to make is that the work of the DAC begins and ends with the Board of Education. We are a board committee, and as such, we believe that all of the work we do starts and finishes with the board. We have been I'm going to say directed by the district staff in years past, and I would like us to align more with the Board of Education. And what that means is that we would take their policy, their values, their vision, and understand how we're applying that to the work. And practically speaking, that's the board telling us why the work is meaningful to them and what they hope to gain as a result of the effort. So the very clear starting point on why the work is important. That would turn into an initiative, a mandate, an opportunity, or an issue. It could be any of those types of projects that we would do. And that would include the 3 statutory chunks of work that we do with UIP, charter, and spending priorities. Notice that lives in the district swim lane. Oh, sorry. That initiative lives within the district staff swim lane where we believe it should. DAC is an accountability committee, and we think a lot of what we're doing is observational, participatory for sure, but more of an observation role within the community. So
Jack, can I do a quick timeout? Yes. Would you be willing to just orient folks to sort of the layout of what this is supposed to represent? you refer to the swim lanes. Can you just maybe do a quick orientation for folks of who all is represented on this spreadsheet or on this layout and what that's supposed to represent for folks?
That's a great point, and thank you. I've been focusing on this for months, and so it's secondhand for me and maybe not for anyone else. At the top of the chart is the Board of Education, where we believe it should be. We're a board group. They should be driving the work and at the top. Second swim lane is the district staff. That's Tracy and her cabinet and anyone else that would be a resource within the district. We have this light blue swim lane, which becomes a functional work group. And what we wanted to do is incorporate other community committees, district committees that may be LRPAC, that may be finance and audit, it may be policy, whoever might overlap on a chunk of work that we're doing. We want to at least stop and recognize an opportunity to involve them, which would avoid overlap or further operating in silos. So we've got that light blue lane as a reminder. We have the whole DAC, and we've established 2 different lanes for DAC because we want to bring attention that the whole DAC, the members, those of us on this meeting, have interest in different areas. And as a result, we can become a functional work group that overlaps. You may belong to the UIP committee, but you might have an interest in engaging in the charter renewal this year, or we may have a special project along the lines of the SAC work that you want to get involved with. And so we just want to recognize that that's an opportunity and a potential ownership of some work. And then we have the statutory DAC, which is why we exist to begin with. And you'll see the word observation frequently, which is, we believe, the primary role. And then we have what we've labeled as the uninvolved community, which we believe as the DAC, it's one of our duties to have an outreach, to either communicate outward what's happening in the district within our purview, or to seek out stakeholders in particular work that could offer experience or insight, maybe underserved community, a portion of the community that we could bring in and participate in the work as well. Erin, is that good?
Yes, and I'm realizing there's some of these elements, again, having a little smidge of time away from this that we might want to consider some language choice maybe. So just to be clear, when we talk about uninvolved community, it means those directly outside of those already articulated in these other lanes. So maybe broader community, but again, just those who are operating outside of the purview of these lanes.
Fair enough. All right, so we have a chunk of work that is either mandated, statutory work, or a special project that the board is requesting. We would meet with district staff to see what work is already happening, what we're reporting, what data, what effort is in place. Some of that might be obvious with, again, the 3 committees that we have, but it might be a good way to restart that work. Who do we need to involve as stakeholders? There was a mentorship idea that was floated by Tracy and Laurie, where along with the CTE program, that we might have an outreach program as a DAC to seek mentors. It was an idea that is not on the agenda this year, but we would ask the question, does DAC need to be involved as stakeholders to begin with? If not, it would just go through the regular district process, whatever that might be, not involving the DAC at all. But where it does, we would want to identify stakeholders. So in the context of charter, I think the way the process has happened in all 3 subcommittees is that we were presented with what the work is of the district. We were kind of ramped up quickly with some knowledge, some foundational knowledge, and then we would participate to whatever level that was. And I feel like we feel like the stakeholders may need to be broader. We may need to bring in some other people that are more experienced or have different perspectives that would benefit the group. From there, we would assemble this oval, which is that functional work group that would involve the district and the DAC, interested members. Again, we could cross-pollinate. And then if we needed to involve any of the other district committees, that group of people would become the functional work group. At some point, we would provide an update to the Board of Education saying, hey, here, this is where we're intending to go. This is what we think the work looks like. This is where what the deliverable would look like at the end, to have a checkpoint so that we don't get to the end and discover we might have had a misunderstanding. If there's redirection, we would rinse and repeat, or we would continue and actually do the work. We would come up with a decision and a recommendation. The deliverable in most cases is owned by the district, as we believe that it should be. The UIP itself, the budget, the charter recommendation. We may or may not join with that presentation to the board, but it isn't our deliverable in this model. That is an important distinction because I think it removes the expectation that we would be subject matter experts. And I want to be clear that becoming a subject matter expert is fantastic, right? I love school finance, I love learning about it, but I would not consider myself to be an expert. And I want to remove that uneasiness that I have when I've been asked in the past to offer an opinion on a spending line item. It feels like it's outside of my role as a spending priorities subcommittee member. What we would be doing as a DAC is observing the process. We would have community outreach, either one direction or both. You know, if we're communicating out through social media or board docs, you know, being a resource to the general community or bringing some more feedback to the group, but primarily it's an observational role. And then we would deliver an annual document to the board that's separate from the budget, separate from the UIP, which we, the leadership of DAC, want to be more an opinion on accountability. Was the process accountable? Did the district, was the board's expectation, was the work that was performed in alignment with the vision and the policy of the board that started the whole effort? I said quite a bit. I talked quite a bit. The important takeaways that I would want you to have tonight is the distinct swim lanes and the ownership of the work and the deliverable, and the ability to be a full DAC and engage in more than one area if you desire as a DAC member. Aaron, would you add anything else to that?
Well, and I think, again, in terms of takeaways is, I think a big idea around presenting how this could potentially shift the work. At this point, this is a proposed shift in how we work. We don't know how it's going to play out. So really, I think making sure that folks have an understanding of what we are proposing things look like, and the reality might be, and I'm going to probably say guarantee, will be messier. But just kind of wanting to make sure that folks have an understanding of what we're attempting to do before we ask for sort of what is your interest in participating in this type of a process, and provide an opportunity for folks to ask clarifying questions, you know, see sort of general responses, et cetera.
So Jack and Aaron, I might jump in with a question. I want to give the group a chance to ask questions, but this could just get us kicked off to make sure I understand. And it might be helpful for the whole group to kind of understand the difference between how we had been operating or have been operating and where this might take us. In this type of situation, it might be that when the staff presents the district UIP or a recommendation on a charter application or a budget, for example, to the board, that within the staff's presentation, there is a section on engagement with DAC and or other groups, like possibly LRPAC or FAC, as you've mentioned here, and feedback, reaction, conversations that were had with those accountability groups that provided input and observed the process as it unfolded. So that the feedback from the community is still included in the staff's recommendation or presentation, but it's not necessarily DAC members who are delivering the presentation to the board. It's DAC members being involved along the way, providing input throughout the process. Is that an accurate restatement of one of the shifts that you're proposing?
That's a very fair assessment, and I thank you for the way that you worded it. The feedback that we've received from membership is when we're standing at the podium presenting, that we're either not engaged enough to really drive the decision of the recommendation, or we don't have the knowledge to really feel justified in presenting an opinion on it. And it doesn't mean that we can't. It doesn't mean that there aren't members within DAC who do have knowledge and opinions and can stand and participate in that way. But the overall, what we've called the statutory DAC is to observe the process and to be able to comment to the board that, yes, in alignment with your goals, your values, your mission, the district is able to that, and they involved the people that you wish to involve, and here's how we know that.
I think it seems like it might be a bit of a shift, not completely away from content, but much more towards process.
Very much so.
Okay, that's helpful for me. I'll just stop and let others jump in here.
Please feel free to also use the chat if folks want to get ideas out there.
So I'll ask the next question because I think the three, hopefully I'm using this all correctly, the three subcommittees within the statutory DAC, right, had very different sort of experiences. Mine was on charter. So, and it was, whether we were experts or not, that is questionable, but there was a pretty significant timeline that we had to keep to. That was definitely driven by the district staff members. So I sort of just want to ensure, and I have no issue per se with whatever the shift is. I sort of just think it is a different process, even observing or otherwise, for that one subcommittee. And so however that's taken into account, I don't know exactly my question, but it does feel a little bit different comparatively. And if it is just observing the process and not being as involved as we were, that's fine too. I just want to highlight if any discussion around the difference for that particular subcommittee, all in there.
So Tara, maybe I can speak to that. Having served on that committee my first year, I think what we're really trying to get at is, and I'm again trying to read what's maybe behind the question, is I think as Tracy described, it's really shifting more from content accountability more to process accountability. I think the other layer of that is rather than potentially duplicating effort that may be occurring with district staff, it is also appropriately contextualizing the role of community members within that process. I don't know if that gets at what your concern was, because there absolutely is a place, and I think, you know, we've used the term subject matter experts or content experts. It's really more trying to acknowledge and not make the role more than it is.
No, I think that helps. And they're probably, that committee particularly probably needs a retooling in that way. So that's helpful. Thank you.
So I would guess my concern, it's not necessarily a concern, big concern per se, would be that if we're only looking at process and not necessarily looking directly at content, I don't know that we're necessarily providing as much information to the board as we could be. Now, granted, everybody comes in with different levels of expertise and different filters and different things that they look at. But if we move entirely towards process, we lose a lot of that content and some of those valuable pieces of opinion and feedback that we would otherwise get. I just don't want to lose sight of the content as well.
So that's a great point, Josh, and I think we've addressed that. The purpose of the model is to reset the expectations of what the DAC does at a high level. The swim lane that is the whole DAC, where we can get involved in the work, I think is where the opportunity is to bring your expertise, to bring your opinions, because the district has been very clear and I think embracing outside opinions and feedback on what the district is doing and how they should be considering things. And we're not trying to have that go away in any sense, but the expectation that all members within each subcommittee need to bring expertise and provide a detailed deliverable, I think has caused a lot of uneasiness within the group. And so we want to provide both. A realistic expectation of what the statutory DAC does, and then provide an environment where DAC members can engage to the level that they want.
I absolutely agree. I just wanted to make sure that we realize that there has to be a balance there. We can't move too far to either direction.
Absolutely. Thank you for elevating that.
I have a question.
Stephanie?
I think that's Erin, Jack. Other Erin.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, geez, there's a big name under her. Sorry, Erin.
That's okay. I want to be Stephanie, so does that count? I think that counts. Sorry. I guess that sort of answered my question in one way, that it sounds to me like it feels kind of the same. I mean, if we are all in DAC, the umbrella, and then we filter into groups, how is that really fundamentally different from what we're currently doing? Am I missing something? Because we still would be joining a group that we're interested in being a part of that would answer to the board directly about content. Yes?
Yes. So here's one of the problems, and I'm just going to speak personally. One of the problems that I have is I've been the DAC president. This is my 4th year, and I don't have a good sense of what UIP or charter does. I don't know what the work is involved. I don't know what you do in the meetings. I just hear that it's very time consuming. It's very detailed. It's a lot of review. The manual is 3 or 4 inches thick for charter. So if we start with charter, and we ask the board, in the context of a recharter or a new charter application, what is your policy? What is your vision for meeting the unmet needs of the district? Those sorts of things. And I'm not going to take a risk and put words in the board's mouth. But out of that is going to become some guiding principles in the work this year. And I think as an observer then, and with the stopping point of engaging the right stakeholders, that the DAC has an opportunity to add accountability to the process of that charter review or renewal by getting the right people in the group. If some of those happen to also be DAC members, then all the better. But it's more of an observation role for the true subcommittee. It's not late nights till midnight reading hundreds of pages of documents to be able to offer an opinion on whether a charter should be approved. Does that help with the distinction?
I think so. It sounds like we still need to be able to speak to. My concern is the reason that DAC was brought forth in Adams 12 was because there were issues around things not happening, right? We needed accountability. We needed to look specifically at budget and make sure it was transparent to the community, right? That's one big one that I remember when I first moved here being an issue. So I guess I'm just feeling nervous hearing this, just observing the process, because then we're not digging in and making sure, no, are we really being appropriate in the specifics of a budget in Adams 12? So it sounds like that the committee that you choose to join that really digs in and brings in specialists if needed is still going to be looking at the gory details and making sure that the district is doing what they're supposed to be doing. Yes?
So I might jump in this moment and say, while some of that may have occurred, ultimately, the DAC is a statutory requirement. We are obligated under law to have one, and those subcommittees are enumerated in the legislation. And so that breakdown, really the bylaws are kind of minimalist, covering that legislation. And while we do very much want our community to have a sense that we are open and we want everyone to have the information that they need to make good decisions about where their kids go to school, how engaged they get, I don't think ultimately we necessarily want to focus so much on, are you digging in and is every dollar that's in the budget being spent in the pocket, especially because FAC has some, insight into that as part of their role. We have some auditors who do some of that. But I think to Jack's real point, if the board is saying the 6 big buckets as outlined in the Elevate plan are our community priorities, is district staff in putting together the budget or doling out money, meeting those big picture visions, values of the board? Is that kind of, to me, that's different than great that you're going through all of the, the however many dollars are in the Gen Fund budget and all of the sub-budget pieces of that. That's great information. But I think when you're talking about those values pieces, I think with charter, are our charters that are applying, are they meeting that community feel? Are our charters that are coming in willing to engage with us? Are they going to let our community charter liaison staff person work with them, ensure that PD is equitable, ensure that they're meeting the requirements under Title IX? I think as a board, that's really more valuable to us and the community seeing that we kind of meet up that way than the curriculum meets these check boxes. Because I think that's where Jack, is talking about that subject matter expert. It matters less to us whether you know the nitty gritty of their curriculum, but it matters a lot to the board that you as community members see, yes, this charter is going to be a partner to us they're going to do, that work of partnering with us as one of our values as a board.
That was helpful.
Like,
Yeah, it seems like we're more like a judicial branch, like overseeing, making sure that everyone's getting fair process then, yes? Just making sure that the process is happening. Yeah, okay.
There is absolutely an element of due process. I think also what Jamie referred to, and Jack, I'm going to refer back to a conversation you and I had, is also wanting to support, I'm going to use the term organizational integrity. Are we supporting the board staying in their lane in the governance role? Are we making sure that we're not duplicating the effort of district staff and or the finance and audit committee where they have a very specific purview? So I think some of this is, again, that due process and also supporting folks staying in their lane and within their scope.
I think what would also help at some point soon, not tonight, but maybe just going over the bylaws again and seeing, as a group where we fall into how we're doing following the bylaws, because those are pretty well defined and give us a pretty concrete direction onto which direction we should go.
I'm just wondering what it would actually look like. Would we, as participants, just be watching a meeting as district employees just do the work? We would just be observing it and not actually participating in it? Or how would that look like? What would that look like? Because it sounds like we wouldn't actually be like engaging in any of the conversations or asking any questions. We would just be observing. That seems awkward to me.
Sorry, I'm chuckling because I am envisioning myself sitting in Susie's office watching her type in Excel documents. No, that would not be the expectation. Observe, Aaron, maybe that's a word we need to take a look at. In the context of spending priorities, which is what I know, it would be regular updates from Susie's team about where they're going, what the impacts are, kind of high level, because we can quickly get down into the weeds, which is where we start to get lost. But are we in alignment with Elevate? Have we engaged LRPAC with long-term plans, and is the current spending in the same direction? Did we bring in UIP representatives to look at underperforming or areas where we need to build up some scores, and are we funding that appropriately with the right resources? That would be the observational role, and that's an engagement, if you will. That's a Q&A or discussion. It may be research that the spending priorities would do offline to come back to the next meeting and incorporate that or provide that feedback to Susie's team.
And I would throw in there that this is a space where knowing what the other subcommittees are doing, or however that is now defined, but having some of that knowledge about UIP is important for Jack and the spending priorities, because spending should really support what's happening with the UIP, right? If we need to really focus on professional development for our teachers around ELL, we should be supporting that with our dollars as well. And we also should really be looking at our charters and saying, do they support ELL? Because that's where our district's focus is. And if they don't know how to help support that, that may not be a school we want to be part of our district.
Thanks for that connection, Jamie. So we are approaching about our hour-long commitment. And I would imagine there are a lot of questions about what this is going to look like and how this is going to operationalize. And I do think this is going to be part of the messiness of these next steps is, what does this look like? I definitely want to acknowledge, Lisa, we are not just going to be process observers. Because again, where's the value add in that? Like, is that really worth your time? I'm going to argue probably not. So we want to make sure that we definitely have an eye towards really maximizing people's time and investment towards things that are value add.
Well said, Erin. I'm going to offer that the survey that's going to be sent to you has a free form question where you can populate that with questions that come to mind after this meeting. And to respect your time, I'm going to move it along to Erin to go over this school year's plan, what we're going to focus on this year, what that job description looks like temporarily, and that maybe a recap of the survey.
Jack, do you have that job description handy?
If you want to start talking, I can locate it.
I would really appreciate that. Thank you. So again, you guys, this is a shift. I think, Laurie, what you're describing around the bylaws is also a consideration. So there are lots of process components that need to be considered. I think the other thing we're going to acknowledge, there's a little bit going on. Folks are juggling a few things, maybe need some attention. So we want to be conscientious that we're not trying to ramrod this through, but we also don't want to lose momentum and energy that we feel like we've built. We have some amazing expertise from members that we've been able to build over the last several years that we don't want to lose. And so what we would propose for this year is it's really sort of a, I'm going to call it a building and demonstration year. How do we actually take some of these ideas, try and put them into practice? Say, what does this look like? Identify areas that might be hiccups. Make sure that the folks who intersect across those different, I'm going to use Jack's term, swim lanes, those different stakeholders. Does this feel right? What are we missing? Does this seem like a value add in your work? So really kind of testing the model. So that's really what we would ask for folks. I think at this point, what we are looking for is to having people participate in this role in support as a board committee. I'm not going to read this to you, but the idea is how do we collectively move this forward? As Jack mentioned, we do have a survey for you, but wanting to make sure that we were able to provide this background so that as you complete that survey, you know what you are potentially committing to in terms of moving DAC work forward. We do want to acknowledge, again, folks have different commitment levels, clearly lots of things going on. And so want to have folks who have an interest and try to manage that interest and level of involvement as best we can. Again, we have some priorities that were identified by the board in the meeting. Oh my gosh, that was last week. 2 weeks ago? Sorry, my sense of time is a little skewed. But in that board meeting, there were some clear priorities that came forward that we want to advance, but really, again, looking at this year as a building, planning, and demonstration year. So with that, I'm going to pause and check in with Laurie, Jamie, and I think Tracy to see if there's anything that you would like to add, clarify, or ask questions about.
So I'll jump in for a minute and just do like a tiny bit of like history lesson. I joined Adams 12 in 2013. And at that point, you know, there was a group called DSIT that was really just not functioning at a high level and then kind of phased out, and we relaunched DAC. When we did that, you know, we had feedback that the engagement people wanted to do needed to be meaty and meaningful. And I think out of complete respect for all of the incredible work that you all have done the last 4 years on whatever committee you were on, and all of the education that you frankly received about public ed and how it works in Adams 12, you've done a tremendous amount of content sort of learning and then development to feed back to the board really important information about these areas. This year, and I just think we have such commitment from a strong group of individuals who care a lot about the district. I don't want us to lose that. And so I would strongly encourage you all to consider staying because of your commitment. It feels to me, you know, this year, if I just, number one, we want to make progress with the SACs. We want the DAC to be connected to the SACs, and we want our schools to have a SAC and engage parents in a meaningful way around some key things. And I think that work is something that the DAC has been interested in a long time, and it's going to be really meaningful work if we can just get it off the ground this year. When it comes to things like UIP, I don't see us making huge changes this year just because we're in such a year of flux and inconsistency and interruption. I do think we need to do our due diligence to make sure we're checking on it and making sure that our UIP still captures what we feel like we need to focus on. But I don't think it's a huge content year for UIP. At this point in time, and the deadline has passed, we do not have a new charter application. And so there's not huge content review, you know, of a new application. We do not have any of our charter schools who are up for renewal with the board asking for DAC input on that. We do want to outline clearly what the process is, you know, for when you do apply. We have improvement to do there. So that's, again, a process piece. And then with spending priorities, you know, I think we'll see what January and mid-year looks like with budget in the state. But I think there's some real opportunities for the DAC to be involved in kind of where are we headed with this as we round the corner into second semester and look ahead a little bit. And there's some opportunities, I think, with LRPAC and the long range planning that they're doing for that cross collaboration that Jack and Aaron have talked about with another district committee. So I just say all that because I don't want the group to feel like there's huge content lifts this year, like there have been in past years. And I do think it's a good time for this group to think, to spend some time, maybe more time than you've even had in the past, just because of all the charter applications and big UIP work we've been doing. Maybe it's a good time for you to spend some time in process and really thinking about those SACs. So I put that on the table as sort of an, just a reflection from somebody who's close to the work and would be the person that's helping you engage with it.
Thank you. Laurie or Jamie?
And I think that, you know, keeping the work streamlined, if you will, would be a good thing for this year too, because, you know, I know that the staff members here, you're totally slammed in every direction. And just, you know, making sure we're staying in compliance as far as what we're mandated to do. And, you know, that's the key, that we do what we're supposed to do, and that you will make the recommendations to the board that you have to make.
Thank you. Aaron, do you want to give a quick overview of the focuses this year, and we can wrap up?
Sure. One other thing, I'd like to just follow up with what Laurie said. Again, acknowledging everything that folks are juggling. I also want to be clear that, again, this is a rebuilding year. And so I also want to acknowledge that if you need to take a pass on this work, it does not preclude you from DAC membership. So I just want to kind of put that out there, that it, you know, it doesn't have to be continuous, but for those who, again, have an interest in this work, it's not a, if you need to acknowledge those commitments as a part of this process, it doesn't mean, you know, you're out.
Jack and Aaron, did you see Aaron's comment or question in the chat?
I did. I was just going to ask, when you say this change, what are you referring to? Which change are you referring to?
To the structure of DAC. Like, is the presentation, is this how it is now moving forward, or are we starting this as a place to start to talk about how to change moving forward. I just needed clarification around that.
I would offer that this, again, this work or this building year is a collaboration with Laurie and Jamie, definitely in the direction of the model, but with an understanding that we may revise it a time or two so that it's the best that it can be.
Great. So hopefully in terms of this job description, you're seeing sort of the proposed work again identified by the board in its previous meeting. So really focusing on the school accountability committees that came forward as a very clear priority. And again, was work that was undertaken by the ad hoc school accountability committee work group last year. So we have some nice things to build upon there. Again, more in terms of process building related to the UIP, making it more community/family accessible. And then again, continuing the work in terms of charter processes. So those were the three identified bodies of work. And Laurie and Jamie, if there's any reframing or clarification on those, but that was what we took away from the board meeting. I'm seeing, okay. So that really is what we're proposing for the work with a first start around the school accountability committees.
Great.
Okay. Jack, did you have something to add?
Nope. We can tie it up.
Tie it up. Okay. So as Jack referenced, there is a brief survey just wanting to gauge people's interests so that we can respond as we're thinking about workflows and processes. Again, open-ended opportunity for comments, feedback, consideration. So please feel free to use it or reach out directly to communicate needs or concerns. And with that, I guess I would just like to say I'm actually incredibly pleased, a little bit surprised at how many people were able to join us on relatively short notice. So thank you all for your commitment and interest in this. Really appreciate it. And I was sharing that actually this work has actually, Jack, probably been my true silver lining of 2020 because it is so meaningful and I am incredibly hopeful about what can come out of it.
I do share those sentiments. I am optimistic about where this group can go and how we can make it more meaningful for the members and add value to the district. That is the ultimate goal. All right, well, I'm going to go ahead and adjourn the meeting. I'll hang around as people drop off. I feel like I should go down with the ship, so to speak. So have a great evening. And it was really nice to see this many people in the meeting tonight. Thank you.
Thank you.